How did we get here? Episode 2. The secret room that built the first computer to win a war. Last episode, we left you with Charles Babbage, a man a century ahead of his time with an idea nobody could build. By the time World War II started, that idea was still just an idea. But the war changed everything. Because when the survival of entire nations depends on breaking enemy codes faster than humanly possible, the question of, can we build a machine that thinks, stops being a philosophical curiosity and becomes the most urgent engineering problem on Earth. The man who solved it was a mathematician named Alan Turing, and his story is one of the most brilliant, most important, and most heartbreaking in all of science. Nazi Germany had a device called the Enigma machine. It looked like a typewriter, but when you pressed a key, it scrambled the letter through a series of rotating mechanical rotors, encrypting it into something completely different before transmitting it. The settings on those rotors could be configured in approximately 159 quintillion different ways, and every single day at midnight, the Germans reset them. They considered Enigma unbreakable. British naval convoys were being sunk in the Atlantic because German U-boats knew exactly where they were. Churchill privately believed Enigma could cost Britain the war. Something had to be done. 50 miles north of London, the British government quietly took over a Victorian mansion called Bletchley Park, filled it with the most brilliant mathematicians and code breakers in the country, and told nobody it existed. Alan Turing arrived in 1939. He was 27 years old, already one of the most original mathematical minds in Britain, and almost comically awkward in person. He chained his coffee mug to a radiator to stop people stealing it, and occasionally showed up to work in his pajamas. But what happened inside his head was extraordinary. Turing understood something the others hadn't fully grasped. You couldn't break Enigma by hand. The math was too vast. You needed a machine. Turing designed what became known as the Bombe, an electromechanical device roughly the size of a large wardrobe, covered in rotating drums that churned through Enigma configurations at a speed no human could match. It didn't try every possible combination. Turing was smarter than that. He exploited a flaw in how the Germans used Enigma. Operators were lazy. Messages always ended with Heil Hitler. He used these predictable patterns to dramatically narrow the search space. It worked. By 1943, Bletchley Park was decrypting up to 84,000 intercepted messages per month. German U-boat positions, troop movements, Hitler's direct communications with his generals. Historians estimate their work shortened World War II by at least 2 years. The number of lives saved is impossible to calculate, but it's in the millions. Working alongside Turing at Bletchley was an engineer named Tommy Flowers, and Flowers took the concept further. He built Colossus, the world's first programmable electronic computer. It used 1,500 vacuum tubes, processed 5,000 characters per second. It wasn't a calculator. It wasn't a single-purpose decoder. It was, in every meaningful sense, a computer, and it was immediately classified. The machines were destroyed on Churchill's direct orders. The blueprints were burned. The world's first real computer officially didn't exist for 30 years. After the war, Turing kept going. He wrote a landmark paper in 1950, essentially defining the field of artificial intelligence before it had a name. And then, in 1952, the British government prosecuted him, not for anything related to his work, but for who he was. Turing was gay. In 1952, that was a criminal offence in Britain. He was convicted and sentenced to chemical castration, hormone injections offered as an alternative to prison. In 1954, he died. He was 41. In 2013, he received a posthumous royal pardon. The man who helped save Western civilization was destroyed by it. Colossus was secret. The bomb was classified. Turing was gone. But the idea, that a machine could be programmed to solve any problem you gave it was already out in the world. In 1945, in Philadelphia, a team unveiled something to the public for the first time. They called it ENIAC. It weighed 30 tons and filled a room the size of a gymnasium. It was the first general-purpose computer the world actually knew about. And now the race was on. Within a generation, that 30-ton machine would shrink to the size of a desk, then a book, then a pocket. How? One tiny invention, so small you can barely see it with the naked eye, made it all possible. That's episode 2. I'll see you in episode 3.